AVAIYA has changed my life.
AVAIYA has made me the woman I am today.
AVAIYA is my home.
AVAIYA is personal freedom.
AVAIYA is the reason my life continuously improves.
Let everyone in your life know about AVAIYA.
Everyone needs to know about this amazing company.
Thank you, AVAIYA, for appearing in my inbox.
What ALLEN and Ande Anderson have created at AVAIYA is what the world needs.
Hello, AVAIYA family. I'm Ande Anderson. My partner, ALLEN, and I are teachers, mentors, and the co-owners of AVAIYA University. AVAIYA is the creator of over 1,000 books, films, courses, teachings, and other supportive resources. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Our fellow teacher, Lisa A. Romano, is back with us today to talk about empaths and leaving toxic relationships. Lisa is a certified life coach, meditation teacher, best-selling author, and YouTube vlogger, specializing in codependency and narcissistic abuse recovery. She creates real-life tools to help people evolve past their traumas so they can live in peace, achieve success, and create harmony in their lives, regardless of painful past events. Lisa's work helps awaken people to the idea that what is wrong is not them, it is only their programming. Welcome back to AVAIYA, Lisa.
Thank you for having me. It's exciting to be here.
Yeah, always good to see you. And I love today's topic. So let's dive into this conversation of empaths. Why are empaths drawn to narcissists?
Well, we have to understand that empaths are people who can feel the feelings and the emotions of other people, so they take them on. So narcissists are people who are terribly wounded and have experienced, in most cases, not all cases, because studies are actually proving that there are narcissists that really have been raised with a sense of entitlement, right? So, but typically we understand that narcissists come from very abandoned childhoods. They've been abandoned in childhood. They've experienced rejection, tremendous shame. No, they can't trust anyone. And now as an adult, they fear being vulnerable. So they can't let their emotions show. They're grandiose, they lack empathy, and they're often entitled. So you'll see entitlement in them. When it comes to an empath just naturally can feel the energy of the sadness or the true grief of a narcissist. And so they want to fix them. They want to rescue them. They want to help them evolve. They don't feel like it's fair that this person just can't experience love like everyone else. So an empath will actually feel that from the narcissist and want to fix it. And empaths see the best in people.
Right.
They see the best in those that other people have said, no more, I don't want anything to do with him. I don't want anything to do with her. Yeah, but you don't know. You don't understand their background. It's not their fault they do this. Give them another chance. The empaths are the peacekeepers. They're the ones that really want to see other people do well and flourish. And they don't always see things clearly because oftentimes they lack boundaries. And so an empath is drawn to a narcissist because they naturally absorb the energy of others. They can pick up on energies. Whereas where you or someone else might say, depends on where we are in the empathy, right? The empathy scale. Someone else might pick up a negative energy and go, oh, I don't want that in my life. An empath goes, I can feel the energy and I can feel why that person, and imagine why that person feels the way they feel. And I want to help that person. So it's not a clear, oh, I feel that, I need a boundary around that. They kind of blur that, push past it, and they want to help that person. So that's why they're drawn to them.
Mm-hmm. Is there a difference between, codependent and empath?
I think that a codependent is someone who lacks boundaries, and a codependent is someone who has figured out that fawning keeps people around, right? So people pleasing keeps people around. So when I'm codependent, I come from shame, and I have figured out that in rescuing you, I have a sense of identity. And so codependents are empathic, but an empath is someone who may not necessarily have true codependency. And they're not seeking the validation so much. They want to help, they want to rescue, and they want to fix. They want to save this person. Where in my view, a codependent is they will attract someone who is narcissistic because they're other focused, and that they're seeking an identity in the taking care of the other person. So they'll naturally take care of people because when I do, I feel good about me. An empath truly senses the energy of this person and wants to fix them.
Gotcha.
So there's definitely overlap, in my opinion. And I think it can be hard. You really have to spend time with someone and figure out what's really going on, because many in my coaching program and the people that I coach, many of them are over empathic. The women that I coach that are married to alcoholics, right? So they're over empathy. I don't want to be a bad wife. I don't want to embarrass him. I don't want to call him out, right? Well, the not calling him out, tell me what it's about. I don't want to embarrass him. Why? Because I wouldn't want someone to embarrass me that way, right? So they're projecting their fears onto this situation, and it makes being able to see the line difficult. Well, where do you exist in this relationship? If you're always worried about this person, your husband and your wife, and covering up for them and pretending they aren't drunk or they don't have a drinking problem, and you're worrying about how they feel about getting busted or caught or losing their job, where are you in all that? How do you feel about that? It doesn't even exist. What do you mean? Right? What do you mean? I matter? Yeah, you matter. How do you feel about that person's actions? What is the cost to you in that experience?
Right. Yeah. And not being always continuously wrapped up into not absolutely being so empathic that we're worried that the other people are going to just feel like crap if we call them out.
If you call someone out that has, like, let's say, a drinking problem, right? You could live in denial of it, and say, oh, it's not that bad, and not even realize that on a truly subconscious level, your empathy has you protecting them, right? So now you're not telling your family the entire truth about the boyfriend, the girlfriend, the husband, or the wife. You're protecting them from what you think other people are going to think, right? It doesn't help the person that needs to get clean. Right. So that's where teaching someone with codependency and or high empathy, you have to peel back, because your over empathy is preventing them from their rock bottom experience. Where do they get the desire of the negative experience, right? Because what's rock bottom about? Now I have the contrast, right? I don't want this anymore. So enablers don't realize that they prevent someone from having that rock bottom experience that is so beneficial, because now I've hit rock bottom. No one's here but me. There's only up. I can only go up from here. So that's the danger of enabling and enmeshment. You're not helping anybody.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think sometimes it can be so convincing that we do think we're helping, but absolutely not in that scenario. And so let's talk a little bit about empaths as it relates to being in a relationship with a narcissist. So when an empath threatens to leave that relationship, leave the parasitic relationship with a narcissist, what happens?
So, there are a couple of things that happen, and I like to talk about the things that you don't expect to happen, because there's plenty of information about the smear campaign, they're going to devalue you, they're going to discard you, plenty of that. They're going to triangulate you, blame you, and all that. But there are sneaky things that happen, right? So the sneaky things that happen, in my opinion, are narcissists aren't stupid people, right? So what they do is, in the beginning, they'll idealize you. So they'll tell you that, oh, you're so empathic, you're so amazing, you're so sensitive. And they use that against you when you figure, I'm done, I'm drained, this doesn't work. No matter how I try to help this person, it always goes bad. They blame me, I'm tired, they're lying, they're cheating, I'm done. So the empath wants to leave. You're a gigantic source of narcissistic supply. So it's like telling Dracula the blood bank is closed. So what is Dracula going to do? Cry. I'm wrong. You're right. All of a sudden, they're agreeing with everything that you've ever said about the relationship. Yes, I am narcissistic. They start to agree with you, right? Suddenly, they start behaving the way you've always wanted them to do. Them too, right? So now they're mirroring your empathy. They're mirroring you, right? So they listen to everything that you said, and suddenly they know how to load the dishwasher. Or suddenly they know how to come home one time, right? Suddenly they're attentive. Suddenly they're reading books. Suddenly they want to go into therapy. This is something you may have been complaining about for 30 years. Now you're done, you're drained, and this person comes back with the crying, the please forgive me, and the I'm sorry's. The issue when you're dealing with a narcissist is that it's always short-lived. And you can stay on this cycle, this Ferris wheel, literally until you die, because there's no long-lasting change. So you go through this with someone once or twice, that's a pattern. The third time is that this is not going to change, right? So when an empath decides to leave a narcissistic relationship, you can expect the narcissist to actually come off empathic for you. And it throws you off balance because suddenly you're seeing your qualities being reflected back. The consideration, the tears, right? The begging, the pleading, and all of that. So I think those are the types of things that happen that we don't expect to happen, right? And if you're in this relationship, what you'll notice is this happens over and over and over and over. So don't be surprised if a narcissist cries, if they suddenly start doing the things you've always asked them to do. If they agree with you, they say that they're wrong. Suddenly they will act like they have feelings. Rather than withhold love, they're suddenly affectionate. And it can be very destabilizing. It's very out of character. So just don't be surprised if that happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So say that again.
Look for the pattern, because the word, you're in this field, narcissism, the word narcissist gets thrown out all the time. And I always tell people, just because someone says no, they're not a narcissist. Someone who sets a strong boundary, doesn't agree with you, is not a narcissist, right? We're looking for a pattern of exploiting you emotionally, kicking you when you're down, envy, jealousy, accusing you of things you're not guilty of, saying things like, I know why you said that. That's not why I said that. Accusatory, right? Paranoid, right? Grandiose. So these are what we're looking for, these patterns. It's not just, one and done. Someone disagrees with you. Oh, she's a narcissist. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's a lot more complicated than that.
Yeah, glad you mentioned that, because that's definitely something that's been coming up more and more lately around, right? Like, what is a narcissist versus someone who has actually been diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder? Do you have any thoughts there?
Well, the issue with narcissistic personality disorder is that it has to be diagnosed, but most narcissists aren't going into therapy, right? So a narcissist that is actually diagnosed is someone who has recognized that their narcissistic traits are now affecting their daily life. It's become a problem. And they're acknowledging that, my grandiose sense of self, my thinking I'm always right, my need to make other people wrong, and my grandstanding, and my distorted cognitive realities. Like, my entire family is telling me I saw this thing wrong. And you got to be careful, because in a narcissistic family, it's like a pack of wolves, and they find the baby lamb and they attack the baby lamb. And so that happens too. But we're talking in a healthy dynamic. If you have a narcissistic family member who's, let's say, drinking too much, or has a gambling issue, right? And is always defiant. It's not, I'm day trading. I'm not gambling, or so what? I drink once in a while and I get a little tipsy. What's all the time? To the point where you want to drive home drunk, to the point where you're arguing with the kids and there's a problem. So this person is being told by their family, all of these things, you're impossible. You gaslight. No, I don't. What's gaslighting? You project. No, I'm not. That's really how you are. It's crazy making, right? So the entire family, extended family, your friends are saying something up here, right? This is the type of person who may end up in therapy because their life has become unmanageable. And so all of us have narcissistic traits. You can be reactive. I can be reactive. But we return to some level of normal or healthy, whereas we recognize that I shouldn't have said that, or I did go over the line. I don't justify going over the line, right? I hurt you. I don't say, well, you deserve to be hurt. I say, I'm sorry I hurt you. Even if I was triggered and I was reactive, even if I still think you're wrong, I am still sorry that I hurt you, that I use that language. Narcissists don't do that. When they feel guilt and they feel a little bit of remorse, it's tied to vulnerability, and they shut that down. So they quickly shift it and make it all about me. Well, what did you say to me? What did you say about my kids? Right? It could be a complete fabrication. So any sense of guilt or remorse is quickly turned into rage and projection and discard, because they can't deal with it. Whereas a healthy person who has healthy guilt, right? I've done something wrong. and I need to make accountability. I have to take accountability and make amends. So these are the differentiations. And I think we need to know that we can all be narcissistic. That doesn't make us a narcissist, and certainly not NPD, where our life becomes unmanageable because of our narcissistic traits.
Gotcha. Thank you. I really appreciate you diving into that. That's super helpful for, because I think we have these conversations every time around, right? Like recognizing our own narcissistic traits, but I love what you said about, but then yes, I feel guilty because I said X, or yes, go clean it up, or what have you. Yeah. The difference. So going back to the topic around empaths. So what is an empath possibly avoiding, right, when they're catering to the needs of a narcissist?
So empaths oftentimes also have their own wounds, right? And so if I am catering to a wounded lion and I'm able to rescue and fix and heal this lion, then this lion becomes my lion. And now, sort of like codependency, I feel enough. So I don't have to deal with my stuff because I fixed your stuff. Right? So if I'm busy taking care of your stuff, I'm avoiding my stuff. Right? So, and it's been said that empaths are empaths because of their childhoods, because they've been so abandoned, because they've been so criticized. So they develop tremendous empathy for other people who have had the same experiences. The problem is that lots of empaths have empathy for others and not self. So that keeps them in a rescuing and a fixing, and I want to take care of you mode. And so as I'm taking care of you, I'm sort of taking care of my own. It's like a pseudo self-healing. So if I'm taking care of Andy, who has these issues with mom and feeling abandoned and rejected, see, I'm sort of working it on some level, my own wounds. So I'm avoiding my own wounds when I'm trying to help you with your wounds, or I even project my wounds onto you. Well, yeah, they're a narcissist because their mother abandoned them, but that's my issue, right? So I might be avoiding my own issue, intending to the issue that I believe this other person has.
Right.
So that could be one theory.
Gotcha. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate you diving into that and how we might look at that in that way. And so you talked about projection a couple times, right? Which I love. So let's say a narcissist project their feelings of unworthiness, not being good enough, that kind of stuff onto an empath. How do you suggest that empath deals with that? How do you suggest?
Well, I think I always say this in all my videos and all my programs, all my classes, is that we have to know our characteristics. We have to know, am I highly empathic? I mean, and there are some people say there's no such thing as an empath. Well, I have 3 children, and I can tell you they're all at different levels. And my oldest has the most empathy, and he's the one who has the most relationship problems, because it's his empathy for a partner, his lack of empathy for self, that gets him into trouble. Literally can see into someone's life and understand why they are the way they are, even their toxic behaviors. And there's a lot of, but I know why she is this way. So he rationalizes it and he wants to take care of her, right? He ends up in trouble. So as someone who has, together, Anthony and I have 6 children, they're all at different levels of empathy. So in my opinion, I do think many of us have high empathy and others have empathy, but we have boundaries. So we have empathy for the self too. So I know that if I jump into that ship, with that toxic person, it's going to affect me, and that's not good, because that person's not accountable. So it's only going to get worse, right? And so I think it's important. The reason I say that is because if you resonate with, ooh, I think I have a lot of empathy, I think that's why I get into trouble. I take care of other people, don't take care of myself, because I'm imagining how they feel and I want to fix it. Okay, well, when a narcissist turns around and projects inadequacies on you, you have to be really careful, because you might take that on. You might believe them, right? And then you might rationalize why they said that. You might try to change yourself to make them not say that. So we do that a lot. I'll change myself. So I'll change myself and hope that the other person changes. It doesn't work. That's like looking in the mirror and trying to change the reflection in the mirror rather than changing the self. When I change the self, the reflection changes. We do it all the time, but we're not aware of it. So that's why being aware of our characteristics and how our minds work below the veil of consciousness on autopilot is so important. So if you have high empathy and you're recognizing this dynamic, right, and you know you're dealing with someone who's toxic, who doesn't take accountability, who gets rageful when they feel guilty, or they feel like you're trying to hold them accountable. Really good information, write that out, put that in your data bank. Like, wow, I tried to have a civil conversation about why this person was 3 hours late, and they're enraged.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying, you just want me to feel guilty. No, I want you to feel remorseful, because if you feel remorseful, that means you did something wrong and maybe won't do it again. Right. This is a common sense relationship, conversation. But when you're dealing with someone who is toxic, they will not take accountability. They'll twist it and accuse you of trying to make them feel guilty, right? So you catch someone cheating on you, you get the files from the telephone company, and they're pissed off that you went into the files of the telephone company, totally ignoring that they're cheating on you. That's not important. What's important is that you violated their privacy. True, you did. But what about the red flag here? You cheated on me, and that's why I went into the, still not good. But my point is completely avoiding why we looked at the phone records, right? It happens all the time. So if you're that person and the narcissist is projecting on you, it's very, very important that you begin to make sure that you're not enmeshed, that you're understanding that this is a 3D autonomous human being, that you do a fact sheet. I love my fact sheets, especially if you have PTSD. Facts are really important because they'll anchor you to reality. What he said or what she said, what time, what did you say prior, what was the reaction, what did they do right after? Really important, like a timeline, right, of facts, because narcissists scramble your mind. They bring you down rabbit holes and tangents, and you're lost. Mm-hmm. You forget what you were talking about, right? To the point where you go, just uncle, you're right, Mm-hmm. So it's really important. I think a timeline of events, like a fact sheet, is very important. And always going back to, how do I feel about what he or she is saying? Don't try to change what they're saying, right? Just let it land. How do I feel? How do I feel? Because as an empath, you have empathy for this person. This person could be verbally abusing you, doing all sorts of terrible things, and you're understanding why, and you're excusing it, but that just reinforces it, right? Mm-hmm. So where is the empath's I? Where is the empath's healthy narcissism, right? Healthy narcissism is, I know who I am. Not at the exclusion of you. Just in this world, I recognize my I, and I recognize you have an I, and I have a right to live my truth with integrity, as do you. I'm not jealous of you. I wish you well. I bless you, right? So unhealthy narcissism is the opposite. I want to control you. I want to dominate you. I'm envious of you. I think you're out to get me, right? You don't deserve it. You live in a beautiful mansion. You don't deserve it. A healthy person says, that's amazing. I'm so proud of her. It's great that she did this. She manifested this, right? So finding your I, how do I think? How do I feel? And then setting boundaries around the way you're being spoken to.
So for an empath, what might that look like in this particular scenario? Setting boundaries.
We hear it all the time, like gray rock, no contact. I use shutty. Like, I just literally imagine a wall around me, around toxic people, and I'm not giving you my energy. You cannot penetrate my wall, because anything that I give you will be exploited. Any reaction will be exploited. Any emotion will be exploited. Any conversation, any rebuttal, nothing I say is going to land. Whatever I give you will be used as ammunition. And so as an empath, it's like when you recognize yourself and what you're dealing with, it's like choosing to literally wrap yourself in this shield yourself from this toxic person. Don't let anything in and don't let anything out. That's the way you build your energy back up. And in that space, you self-care, right? So you don't have conversations. You do not talk to flying monkeys. Not kidding. Like, if you have to go off of social media for a while, you go off of social media. If you've got to change yoga studios, change yoga studios. Why should I have to change yoga studios? Because they're coming for you. And it's a toxic environment. It's constriction. There's abundance in another yoga studio. Trust me, dear one, right? If you have to go to a different Trader Joe's, go to a different Trader Joe's, right? Control what you can. Don't, complain about being able to make these changes in your life, because that's going to lead you to something much more than what you've had. You can't have something new unless you change your thoughts. You have to have a new thought. You have to reverse the old thought. So if you were used to engaging and battling with the narcissist and trying to convince them that they were wrong, or trying to convince the flying monkeys why you feel the way you feel, those are old thoughts. They kept you on that Ferris wheel. You need a new thought. You have to reverse that. Let them think what they want. Let it go. They're entitled to their opinion. Let it go. I'm not battling. I'm accepting. I'm surrendering. It's reversing the thought process and the belief process around this dynamic. And that's how you'll be able to literally use source, which is a creative energy, to help you manifest a different reality. But oftentimes we're so angry that we want to prove this person wrong. Ain't gonna work.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned, right, control what you can, because I think a lot of us can get wrapped up into, well, I can't do anything about it. And it's as if we're like a victim of this person or this situation, as opposed to exactly what you said. Okay, time to switch yoga studios, time to switch grocery stores and do something different. And that's something we can, right, take responsibility for. I love that.
Yeah, I do think, however, when it comes to narcissistic abuse, you have been victimized, right? Because narcissists are predators. And then the empathic narcissistic relationship is parasitic, and they're draining from the empath. They have no consideration for how the empath is being drained, and there for them and listens to them and gives them money, gives them shelter, gives them food, right? And you are being abused, right? You are being taken advantage of. But I think there's a point where once the awareness and you know what you're dealing with comes full force. This is Dracula. This person is Dracula. They don't care about me. They're only interested in taking from me. I'm just a source of supply. I'm a food supply for this person, right? Once you see it, accept that this has been a parasitic relationship, and that's hard. You're going to have to grieve it. We all grieve even toxic relationships. So it's not just a switch. It's like transitioning into the reality of the situation, letting it hit you, grieving that, right? There's 5 stages of grief. There's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and finally acceptance. So move through that. And in that space, self-care, cut them out of your life. And in that space, say to yourself rationally and logically, what can I control? And try not to get caught up in negative thinking, which is, I shouldn't have to do this. Bless the fact that you can. That's where your power is. I can do this different. I don't have to go to that yoga studio. I don't have to go to that Starbucks. I don't have to answer that text. That's empowering. The fact that you can. There are some people who have to live with narcissists because they're financially dependent upon them. They have 5 or 6 kids. They live in some, country where this isn't so easy, so think about that. Any freedom that you have, bless it and take it.
I love that. Amen to that. That's awesome. I just had like such appreciation for that, and just personal experiences I've had, and the recognition of the right being the source of supply for somebody else and what that feels like, right? And being able to, make a choice once one has the awareness of it to protect yourself, right? Get out of a situation like that.
Yeah. And we have to also, that's why in my work, so much of it is, well, what happened to you? Like, who happened to you? How old were you? What were your childhood experiences? Because if you come from a toxic home, it's just much easier for you to idealize a narcissist and then to fall for their idealization of you because you're starving, right? You haven't felt connected to, and narcissists use the love bombing and the idealization to make you feel seen. That's how they hook you. We never see the lure. We only see the bait, right? So they're baiting us. You're amazing. You're my soulmate. I've been waiting for you my whole life. I've never met anyone like you. Suddenly, all of that abandonment and attachment trauma goes out the window. I feel seen. Someone loves me, which is what we're supposed to feel before we're 18 months old. Like, someone loves me, and this is a safe place, and I can be me, and I can be imperfect, and this person is still going to love me and guide me and nurture me and not abandon me. So the narcissist swoops in on a wounded adult child in that situation. And the wounded adult child goes right back into not infancy, but certainly early childhood, where they feel not good enough and suddenly they feel enough. It's addictive.
Right.
So part of this is going that far back into our own history and recognizing what happened to me when I was a little girl or a little boy? Why do my relationships start off great and they always fall apart? Why? Because you're idealizing your partner, and then you're making commitments before you know this person. Right? So then 6 months, 8 months, 6 years in, you're like, I don't even like this person. Right? Because you didn't realize that when you first met this person, they were idealizing you and you were idealizing them. Oxytocin was flowing.
Mm-hmm.
Dopamine was flowing. You were literally chemically addicted. You didn't see the danger signs, the halo effect.
Yes, the power of those chemicals, right? What a powerful thing to keep the human race alive.
Absolutely. And we didn't get enough of it as children, right? So, if you get enough dopamine and oxytocin as a child from a mother's love, your brain is able to wire for connection versus protection, right? I don't have to wire for survival. I can wire for trust in myself and trust in you. So being void of that significant bond puts us at a risk later on in life.
Interesting. I love that. Since we're running low on time, Lisa, I want to make sure you have a chance to talk about a free gift you have for everyone, as well as a discounted program. So what do you have for us?
So you can go to, we're going to offer you a link where you can actually watch a free codependency presentation. I think lots of times people don't realize that they're struggling with codependency until they start hearing someone talk about the symptoms of codependency. Like, oh, that's my problem, So feel free to go check that out. That's a free presentation. And also we're offering 55% off my membership site. So the link will give you access to a coupon where you can join the program, and you can cancel anytime. I offer new resources every month. We pick a Breakthrough Warrior membership of the month every month. And it's just a really cool community to be with people who are on this healing path and have these conversations daily.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for both of those. And AVAIYA students watching or listening, those buttons to both those things are below. So you can just click through on those and check them out. Do you have any last insights before we wrap up?
I think it's, for me, but my life changed when I stopped. I hit the pause button, started meditating, and then started to observe my own character traits, because I was someone who was unaware that I was unaware. And I just thought that everyone thought like me. As silly as it sounds, I just thought that everyone was sort of thought that if they were nice to other people, people would naturally be nice in return. If you were considerate, people would be naturally considerate. But I was that way without a boundary because I didn't have a sense of self. So I didn't even realize that being nice, and doing for others was really coming from a very sad place. And seeking approval and fawning, and finding a sense of identity and taking care of others. And so it wasn't until I started to rewind the tape and I started to really take care of myself, got people off the hook. You don't have to agree with me. It's fine. I'll survive. You don't have to take care of me. I will survive. I'll find a way to survive. I'm enough. And so if you're struggling with I'm not enough stuff, I think it's really important that you look at the past and you understand why, and then work towards doing everything that you possibly can to reverse that thought, so you can reverse whatever's going on in your life that is counter to abundance.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lisa. This has been awesome again.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Always. And thank you, AVAIYA students who are tuning in right now, for showing up for yourself. We wouldn't be here without you. So thanks for your continued commitment to you. And we will see you all again real soon. Take care. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us for this latest class with Lisa A. Romano. She talked with us today about empaths and leaving toxic relationships. I always enjoy my conversations with Lisa. She always brings something new and different to the table. And today I think what was really interesting was talking about this pattern to look out for in the narcissists in your life, whoever they are, right? And recognizing that when a narcissist feels guilty, right, this immediately makes them feel vulnerable, and then they shut down those emotions because of how uncomfortable it is for them to feel those things. And then they get angry, right? They get rageful. They can become really scary people in this instance. So this is just a pattern to look out for. I thought it was an interesting way of seeing this and an interesting way of looking at the sequence of events, something that you can start to recognize in the people in your life if they are narcissistic, and how to really just build the awareness for yourself, if nothing else, that, right, this is kind of this cycle of events that happens when a narcissist feels guilty when they're called out on something in their life, and how that leads to this anger, this rage, this projection of guilt onto you in your life. So things to be aware of. And also, I really enjoyed that we talked a little bit about if we didn't get a very strong attachment, to a parent or caregiver when we were growing up, if we didn't have that emotional connection, if we didn't have that experience of oxytocin, flowing from our mothers, let's say, our brain isn't wired for that, is what Lisa was talking about. So, if our brain isn't wired for that, we're going to be looking for it elsewhere in our futures, in our future relationships, because we never experienced that very biological need that all of us need to have that attachment in our lives. So it's no wonder that we might feel not whole and complete, or feel empty or void of that kind of love if we didn't experience it. And then we go looking elsewhere, and then we get into trouble in our relationships. So just something to be aware of in your own journey, and recognizing once again that, we can learn to reparent ourselves. We can learn to source that energy, that love within ourselves in our lives. And if you enjoyed this class with Lisa, she is featured in many, many other AVAIYA Masterclasses. So please check those out on the homepage of AVAIYA.com. And we'll see you all again real soon. Take care.
AVAIYA has changed my life.
AVAIYA has made me the woman I am today.
AVAIYA is my home.
AVAIYA is personal freedom.
AVAIYA is the reason my life continuously improves.
Let everyone in your life know about AVAIYA.
Everyone needs to know about this amazing company.
Thank you, AVAIYA, for appearing in my inbox.
What ALLEN and Ande Anderson have created at AVAIYA is what the world needs.